Hey everyone, welcome to the fifth edition in our sports podcast, Jock of All Trades. Vishnu, Muthu, Saurav, and Kushal here, ready to bring you guys our latest take on sports. Today we've got tons of things on the agenda to talk about. We have the usual suspects, the NBA and the NFL, and we're also going to be throwing in some soccer there, so make sure you stay tuned till the end. And yeah, let's get right into it.
We recently wrote an article about the NBA bubble. It'll be linked down below. Make sure to go check it out to get a more in-depth view of the bubble. But basically, here's one sentence rundown. The NBA bubble is basically a location in Orlando with multiple basketball courts where the NBA is playing their games to avoid a COVID-19 outbreak. It's pretty much fully isolated besides a few employees that are working in the bubble.
All right, and with that out of the way, why don't we just begin by going around and just sharing some of our favorite moments or like favorite plays or whatever from the bubble. Kushal, you want to start?
So I guess this is probably like one of the most disappointing pieces of news that I've heard that came out of the NBA bubble. So the Suns came into the bubble with a fire under their bottoms, 8 wins, 0 losses, making them the only undefeated team in the NBA bubble. But yet, unfortunately, that did not get them into the play-in tournament against the Memphis Grizzlies. Muthu, do you want to elaborate a little bit more on that?
I mean, yeah, because what happened was Damian Lillard led the Blazers. They went 6-2 in the bubble, and they got into the play-in game with the Memphis Grizzlies, and they defeated the Grizzlies and made it to the playoffs. And in that process, they knocked out the 8-0 Suns, which, boo-hoo. I mean, they didn't really play that well in the regular season, so did they really deserve to go to the playoffs?
One of the interesting things was that Draymond Green was actually fined $50,000 because he on a TV show apparently said that the Suns are a bad team for Devin Booker. I mean, I can't really disagree, but we'll see in the future. Maybe that wasn't worth it, the 50,000.
But I think the future is bright for the Suns. They got Devin Booker, who's like their franchise player, and then they recently invested their first round pick in DeAndre Ayton, who's also like a quality player who's developing. So I think maybe like during the regular season, it looked like the future wasn't bright for the Suns, but from like that 8-game stretch, I think Suns fans definitely have something to look forward to in the coming years.
Well, to be honest, I kind of disagree with you there. I really feel as if Devin Booker really wants to make a dent on the game right now, as it is, I feel like Devin Booker really should sign with a different team because the Phoenix Suns just don't have what it takes. I don't think they have the proper management. And I think that the team as it is, sure, it might be I feel like it is average right now, but it could be a lot stronger, and he just needs to go somewhere else and improve his career.
All right, that's enough about the teams that didn't make the playoffs. Let's talk about the Portland Trail Blazers.
Led by Damian Lillard, who was actually the unanimous bubble MVP. And so basically what happened was, in their loss against the Los Angeles Clippers, he missed 2 critical free throws at the end of the game, and as a result, they lost. But after those free throws, Patrick Beverley and the Clippers bench were pretty unsportsmanlike, and they started taunting him. And that led to a bunch of social media disputes. And so that was pretty entertaining to follow. But, I mean, what happened next?
He responded with a 51-point game against the 76ers and a 61-point game against the Mavericks.
I think one thing that needs to be mentioned is the fact that in addition to Patrick Beverley, Paul George was getting in on it. He was taunting Lillard and stuff. But then when the Mavericks are playing the Clippers in the playoff series right now, it's tied 2-2 at the time we're recording this, which is right before Game 5. Paul George is literally setting records for how bad he has played in the last 3 games. I think he might be one of the only players in NBA history to shoot less than 25% in 3 consecutive playoff games, attempting a certain amount of shots. But yeah, it's funny that what he said is backfiring.
Doesn't he have a nickname or something? Something that describes?
Yeah, it's playoff P. It's really funny because he named his playoff version of himself, and and it's funny because the playoff version just sucks even more than his regular season self.
Yeah, and Kushal, we cannot forget about last year when Damian Lillard bombed that 3 in Paul George's face and then waved at him bye-bye. I mean, he's got to be salty.
I guess before we move on, just one thing that I would like to just touch on is the bubble vlogs. I think the 2 big people who have been doing it is Matisse Thybulle and then JaVale McGee. Basically, to give people an inside look at the bubble. Usually you have reporters and stuff who are or at least a lot of reporters who are showing what's going on with the NBA, but that's not really the case with the bubble, as only certain people can be there. So the bubble vlogs were good just to get an inside look. what the bubble was. So if you guys want to check those out, they're on YouTube on both of those players' channels.
And you might be wondering who he's talking about. I mean, realistically, we can't blame you because they don't really play much, which is why they're able to vlog in the bubble. That's kind of their purpose right now.
JaVale was
JaVale-
pretty good yesterday. I mean, he had
Okay,
like 4
fair
blocks
fine.
in like 5 minutes. But yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Oh yeah, Matisse Thybulle's gone now. 76ers got eliminated, so we'll be
That's-
seeing him outside the bubble.
On a more serious note, players were allowed Black Lives Matter slogans on their jerseys, and they could imprint it instead of their name. And these are all league-approved slogans. And if you happen to watch the games, you'll see many players sporting slogans like "Say Your Name," "Equality," "Peace," and others to describe their feelings in this difficult time.
So we had a lot of talk about like the NBA and stuff. Now let's get to something we usually don't discuss on this podcast, which is soccer. And if you want to take it away with that.
All right, now let's move on to soccer. And okay, I'm gonna admit, I know this is a new segment, and like, I don't really watch soccer as much as the next soccer player. But this is Champions League, and Champions League, basically where you're gonna have the top teams from all around the world playing in one tournament, and they're gonna be pitted against each other to see who is the best. And this year, the best was Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich is basically the best team in Germany, and they were flawless. They beat every team they played against, and they went undefeated, and that's unprecedented. No other time has a team won all of their stages and then won the championship. And this year, Bayern Munich beat PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, probably the best team in France, and they beat them 1-0, and they took the cup. But maybe some of the more interesting parts of the tournament were 2 things. One, Barcelona. Barcelona, yeah. They died. They lost 8-2 to Bayern Munich. 8-2, that's insane. They got crushed, they got demolished, they got other thesaurus words that I can't think of off the top of my head. And now what's happening? Lionel Messi, arguably the best player in soccer right now, is leaving their club. And where is he going? No one knows. It seems to be Manchester City, an English Premier League team that is really good. I mean, they've got Sergio Aguero, who's Messi's Argentinian national team teammate. And that would be a great addition to the squad. If he went there, I'd assume they'd win Premier League. And then you also have Lyon, who's kind of this out-of-nowhere team from the Farmers League or whatever, that eliminated Juventus and Man City from the tournament. And that was crazy. I mean, this Champions League was one to watch. But, I mean, I think the biggest takeaway is that Bayern Munich is on another level. Germany is going to be insane in the World Cup. All right, that's enough soccer for now. Hope you enjoyed it. We might bring it back if anything interesting happens.
I don't really watch too much soccer, so that was nice to get a quick little recap of what was going on with the Champions League. But now let's move on to the NFL. And Kushal, you want to give us some info and just your thoughts on the upcoming season?
Yeah, of course, I'd love to. So the NFL does plan to come back, although they are not coming back with the preseason. As a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, the NFL has determined that they will be forgoing all 4 of the preseason games. And there has been quite a bit of controversy regarding player safety. There have been several players who have spoken out against the NFL, such as Richard Sherman, who is the cornerback playing for the San Francisco 49ers. He spoke out about the NFL not taking sufficient player safety precautions, something that is incredibly important during this horrible pandemic. And I think that even some of the players have opted out of the upcoming season.
Yeah, so a lot of players ended up just opting out of the season.
To preserve the safety of their families. And the New England Patriots, probably the best team in the NFL, they had 8 of their players opting out. And so far, not too many big names have decided not to play.
There aren't that many big names on that team anymore.
They have Cam Newton. That's
probably why.
All right, and you can see the NFL return back to television on Thursday, September 10th with the reigning NFL champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, up against the Houston Texans.
Yeah, I think I speak for all of us when I say, at least for the 4 of us, that we're excited to see the NFL come back. The NBA has been great, but I think we're excited to have some variety in there as well. And so one last thing we wanted to throw in here before we ended off this episode of the podcast is just what's going to be happening with high school sports and then hardcore sports more specifically during this time when we are remote. So we've written an article on this topic on Hardcore Quilla, and we'll have that link down below. But here's just a quick rundown of what's going to be going on. So usually, as you guys know, for high school sports, we have 3 seasons. There's fall, there's winter, and then there's spring. But this year, the CIF announced that those 3 seasons will be condensed into 2. The start of sports, as of now, will be delayed until December or January. And when sports do resume, like whether or not fans will be allowed back in the stands, those types of things are still up in the air. Obviously, with the condensing of those 3 seasons into 2, we will see some logistical issues in terms of space and scheduling, but those things will likely be figured out as we approach the date when sports actually do resume. But yeah, I think that's going to cap it off for the 5th edition in our podcast series, Jock of All Trades. Let us know what you thought of this one down below. Give us your feedback, any comments you have. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Catch you guys next time. See ya.